Hey, Jim. It's great to be in the call with you today.
Hey, thanks, Keith, and welcome to this episode of the Pharmacy Innovators podcast. I'm your host, Visante CEO Jim Jorgenson, and with USP 797 and 800 becoming official this month, there is a lot of interest in the pharmacy community around documentation and compliance with these new standards versions. And certainly at Visante, we're getting a lot of requests for additional support around sterile compounding. So today, our guest is Keith Streckenbach, CEO at Pharmacy Stars and a real innovator in this area. And I've known Keith for years. I've been a customer as well as worked with Keith on a variety of projects. So welcome, Keith.
Awesome. Hey, glad to be here, Jim. It's a real honor. Thank you.
You bet. First, I think for people that haven't met you, and there's probably not many of those, but can you give us some background on your career and how you got to Pharmacy Stars?
Sure. Happy to do so. But it started back in 1988. I was about 20 years old. And at that time, I joined a firm and as a headhunter. I was placing health system pharmacists. In fact, at that time, we were placing more directors of pharmacy in the country than any other firm. And then from there, I launched a employment publication called Pharmacy Week. There too, we soon became the number one method for people to recruit pharmacists. Moved forward about, 1999, came out of grad school, and there was a real opportunity with the internet around providing information to pharmacy. So launched a company called Pharmacy One Source at that time. And Jim, I think that is probably, actually, it might have been a recruiter for you too. But certainly Pharmacy One Source, when I launched that company, we eventually introduced a formulary management system and then clinical documentation, clinical surveillance, and then compounding compliance. Actually, in 2005, Greg Baldwin, who was the CEO of Baxter Corporation at that time, was one of my board members. And he reached out to me and said, "Hey, Keith, you should talk to this guy named Costango, and you guys build something to help people with compounding compliance." Those of you in the compounding world remember back in 2005 and the like. And so anyway, introduced the Simplify 797 back then as one of our product lines. And it eventually took off quite well. Was part of also helping get a couple of our product lines, like Critical Point, Clinical IQ going, and eventually sold that company to Wolters Kluwer in 2010. Come forward 2015, and Jim and I started talking about what should we do, and decided to launch Pharmacy Stars with the focus on 340B. Shortly after coming to market, a lot of people learned I was making software again and said, you know what, we really need to have something that addresses enterprise compliance at a centralized level, because really no solution did then, nor does today, except for us. And so we even ended up building that. And just to, real quick note, since in 2018 is kind of when our first implementation that took place, we're now approaching 1,500 facilities in under 5 years. So we're in a really good clip.
Wow. And for folks not familiar with Pharmacy Stars itself, give us a little more background about what you and the team have actually built.
Yeah, so it is a enterprise quality management system. So it's got different workflows that you'd find in any QMS system. So that's the ability to document things that are logs, that are audits, that are competencies, inspections, incident and CAPA management, as well as a specialized tool for compounding, for batch compounding. But the net is our customers use it first and foremost for compounding today, compounding compliance with both USP as well as Board of Pharmacy Regulations, D&V, but also for Joint Commission, mock audits, D&V, mock audits, URAC, 340B, and drug diversion auditing. All in all, it's all in one place. It resides in the cloud. And in addition to the documentation system, we are the only ACP accredited provider who also provides a pharmacy quality management system. And so incorporated directly into our application is ACP accredited CE that we produce and provide, and we're integrated right into NABP and CP Monitor for that too.
Awesome. I think obviously a big focus for any organization involved in sterile compounding is the pending go live of the new USP 797 standards, along with USP 800 becoming compendial. So, what are you hearing in the marketplace from your customers in terms of concerns or needs in this area in advance of the USP changes?
Yeah, without a question, the biggest focus it has been clarity on what exactly has to be done to be in compliance. So there's been dozens and dozens of webinars and training sessions over the past year by different industry experts, including Pharmacy Stars experts, on just interpreting the guidelines. So that was, one is getting that roadmap. Okay, where am I now? Where am I going to? And for that, we produced gap analysis tools or self-audit tools for 795, 7800. And then it quickly moved to getting SOPs in alignment, teamed up with Visante to have expert SOPs written for 795, 7800, make those available for our customers so they can say, okay, I want to make sure my SOPs are in line, because that's really the base of everything comes from that. Then next is really didactic training. There's a scramble to say, okay, we need to ensure that we're trained properly to the standards. And there's enough that has changed that you can't really use last year's training, so to speak. And so that was a big push for us this year. And our customers have been repeatedly telling us how appreciative that we got ahead of it. We didn't bring that out, on November 1. It's been there. So they've really been focusing there. I would say the point that most people are loudest about is the increased frequency of sampling. So there's twofold. One is the evaluations, which used to be every year. If you're doing low and medium, or now category 1, 2, you do that once a year. Now you have to do twice a year. But the big impact is the monthly surface sampling. In the past, that was most people just let the certifier do it, Jim, and they would just do it every other 6 months. That frequency has gone up every month. And with that is cost, downtime, training. A lot of things have played out. So we've teamed with some of our customers who have successfully deployed central environmental monitoring services and centralizing and taking that surface sampling in-house. And we've teamed up with some labs, Chatton Labs here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, to have direct integration with them, so that the customers of ours who are doing their own sampling can send them to the Chat Labs. Chat Labs can directly put the information right into Compounding 360. And because we connect the dots, we've been able to reduce that price by about 20 to 70% compared to if they're going outside. So people really appreciate that.
One of the other major concerns, I think, in healthcare right now is a real lack of personnel resources, and in pharmacy, particularly pharmacy techs. And, we know that for most sterile compounding operations, techs are really the backbone of the program. And we've highlighted this issue with a Visante white paper as well as a podcast. But, does this impact you at STARS as well? And, what might you be doing to help with this challenge?
Well, absolutely. The pharmacy technicians do the compounding. I mean, if it's not a robot, it's almost always a pharmacy technician. And so there is an increase in some documentation, this increase in training, additional garbing requirements. So there's been increases. The drug shortage has increased the demand for more compounding medications. So the net is any operation or work task that we can remove from the pharmacy technician or streamline for the pharmacy technician is really, really welcome and valued. One example that people are extremely excited about is that we have integrated with continuous monitoring systems. So absent something like what we offer in a compounding pharmacy, even if they have continuous monitoring in place, they still are going in, reading on the wall, looking at the pressure gauges, looking at the humidity and temperature, and they're having to record it somehow. It may seem like, what do you mean? That's just a minute of work. It adds up, okay? And you're doing every shift. And so we've eliminated that with that integration. The next thing is making it very clear and easy for staff, new staff, to know what to do. There's a lot of turnover, Jim. You probably know that from your white paper in this position of pharmacy technician. And so training the staff on good aseptic technique, cleaning, and the like, that's built right into Compounding 360. And so they don't have to go to a secondary system to get it. It's built in, so you're not the organization not getting hit with costs, extra costs when they have that turnover, but they're able to train the staff. But secondarily, deeper into the job, our user interface is not just simply a checklist, check the box, it's all done. While people would like that because it's faster to document, the downside is you lose all the data that you really need to report to inspectors. But back to the technician. In that documentation form, our customers will put in there a description and assessment steps, how to perform this. And so it makes it easier when new technicians are onboarding, when they're starting to use our system, they're also getting the kind of that playbook. How do I do that job? And people really appreciate that.
Another big area of concern for our clients, certainly, it seems like every week we're reading about cybersecurity issues. Someone's getting hit with a ransomware or a data breach, and I recently had a conversation with a CEO in a mid-sized hospital, and he told me that they get hit with over 200 hack attempts a day. So, what are you doing around your tools and security?
Yeah, I won't say it's never ending, but it is absolutely paramount to a company like ours that you have a strong strategy and monitoring of such that. So it's certainly the foundation of the policies, but really every place we can, we build security in. We build security at the code level, code reviews, security reviews before it goes through 3 stages before it reaches production. We've opted to run on a SOC 2 certified environment, Amazon Web Services GovCloud. And in that, you have, without going to all kinds of jargon, Jim, okay, there's just multiple layers that you're protecting. You're protecting different types of attacks. If someone were to get in, stopping them from once they get there, basically quarantining them so they can't do anything. So we have a lot of different technology, policy, and ongoing monitoring and detection systems that we use to protect that security. With our customers at a customer level, almost all of them use what's called single sign-on or SAML. Again, it's an acronym. Sorry about that, everyone, but it's just a more secure way for their staff to access our system, and that where our customer has control of their access.
Right, and besides, we're pharmacists. We love acronyms, so you're in good company.
Do you ever? The security can never be overstated. Okay. The reality is we don't deal in PHI. We don't deal with PCI or PI. So, the highly sensitive areas that are really these attacks are going after to, hold the facility basically hostage, okay, with ransom. We don't maintain that, but even so, we still up our game and we run at that high level of security. We encrypt everything at every stage of the process. It's important.
Something very innovative that I know you're working on is the construct of a comprehensive ecosystem around sterile compounding.
Yep.
Can you explain that concept a little bit in more detail and the advantages you see to that approach?
Absolutely. So when you stop and look at the compounding environment or that clean room and all the things go around it for compliance, it's the reality is absent having an ecosystem like Compounding 360 to pull it all together where data shared among that all the parties that are supporting that clean room in its operations. You have multiple sets of organizations with silos of the data that all ultimately has to come back together. And absent this ecosystem, what ends up happening is it's a lot of extra burden on the hospital pharmacist or the manager, because they're getting reports sent to them. So certification reports, lab results are getting sent to them. The temperature pressures I talked about, they have to go grab that information. When the certifier shows up, they're getting certification reports and, sometimes 10, 12, 15 PDFs, and then they have to interpret that. So what we've done is with our platform, we have an API that allows any system that puts information in the cloud to pull that in. So we integrated with NABP and CP Monitor to automatically send data there. So that's where we're pushing out, but with continuous monitoring, pull it in. Chat labs that I talk about, where at the lab level, they can just populate directly into the system. With the certifiers, instead of the certifier going in, you waiting 2-3 weeks or whatever for the certifier to get the report back to you. They're logging right then and there the values, and then they just simply attach the PDF to the system. We have a rules engine. It's the only compliance rules engine that we're aware of for compounding anywhere in the world. And it will look at what's been submitted, and then it will basically notify the management that certification is done. There's issues or not. So summarizing, we eliminate any manual steps that we can of transferring information, of getting information into a usable, trendable fashion. And also in that process, we've eliminated costs, and our customers love it.
With an eye toward the future, let's talk a little bit about what you see happening in terms of regulation and oversight in the compounding space. At Visant, we're doing work in both 503A and 503B sites, and it seems like there's a natural movement toward incorporating more CGMP-like standards. What do you think about this evolution?
Well, I definitely see it happening. Okay, there's no question it's increasing. I would find that many of the customers of our customers and the designated persons that increased role, they're agreeing with it. There's some opposition, without a doubt. We've seen that, added details that they're saying, why do we have to do this? But the net is the departments are becoming more and more CGMP, like as you're stating, Jim. I read Pharmacy Stars really do turn to organizations like Visant to give us guidance, as well as we observe USP and the like.
We're also seeing state board inspectors becoming a lot more knowledgeable about sterile compounding and more aggressive in their oversight. So what's your experience at the state board level?
No doubt on that one. They are definitely upping their game, and we love it, and we're getting a good response from it because and I'm speaking generalities, okay, but there is a much more intensive team coming in instead of just one team member. We are hearing from our customers. They are bringing in 3 team members, one and all simultaneous, one working with the director of pharmacy, one with the lead the IV room supervisor, and then someone with the tech, all at the same time, asking the same, similar questions to corroborate each other. But additionally, they're not just saying, just show me your logs. They're saying, okay, show me all of your excursions, and I want to see your documentation of your incident report and your CAPA, and that you have evidence. So they're looking for more evidence that you're practicing. And I agree with it.
And last, I think we're seeing hospital quality and risk leaders becoming more engaged in USP compliance, and more. I think sterile compounding isn't just a pharmacy issue. It's more global now. What are you experiencing in this area?
Same thing. There are, just in the past, I'd say 6 to 8 weeks, 2 VPs of pharmacy who are in a role where they are over the minimum is 48 hospitals. They're going back and getting their board certification, BPS and compound sterile preparations. I'm seeing that more and more senior level management who really aren't even in the compounding environment are going and getting that certification. The DPs, the role of the designated person, which is particularly around with 800 and med surveillance and other things that pertain to that. They're building committees that incorporate not just pharmacy, but they're pulling in nursing and other departments. And so I think it's only elevating, and everyone's taking it more seriously.
You've also been active in giving back to the professional community by sponsoring the Sterile Compounding Experts team, and also publishing the Sterile Compounding Quality Matters newsletter. So tell us a little bit about those endeavors.
Yeah, well, we're excited about them. They're free. We don't charge a fee. And we've pulled together with the Sterile Compounding Expert panel, industrial hygienist, industrial engineer, pharmaceutical microbiologist, infection preventionist, as well as 3 compounding experts who have experience in hospital infusion centers. And all these people on these teams have at least 10 years experience and upwards of 20, 25 years experience. And they pull together in response to what the market's asking for. We've produced, again, those user self-audit guides for 795, 7800. They have vetted and developed updated training that we've just released. In fact, that training, we're adapting it for EVS training. And in our EVS training, which we're going to make available free to the world, no charge whatsoever, it's going to be hosted on a Vimeo channel, is going to be in multiple languages. We just put it in Korean and Spanish, and we're likely to add a couple more languages because that's a real market need that no one's filling. And that's where we leverage that expertise. And for the SCXP, same thing goes with the Sterile Compounding Quality Matters. It's very focal. It's about 5 pages long. It usually takes a topic and it pulls the viewpoint of that panel and puts it out there in a useful fashion for people. Other things we do, Jim, is we give or take $10,000 to $20,000 a year. We're providing unrestricted ed grants to customers to do any research that they're doing around this area, or if they have a real successful practice that they've done that we're hearing by looking at the listservs and others that others want. We fund them to present either via webinars and or posters or go to trade shows. For example, we have an upcoming a former Board of Pharmacy inspector who's going to be doing a webinar next month on basically how to best prepare for a Board of Pharmacy inspection from someone who inspected for about a decade. We have another customer at St. Jude in Tennessee. They have developed a really exceptional way to evaluate non-sterile compounding. It's a gap. It's not out there. It's a bit of a shocker that there really isn't one, and you can't even. It's not really in USP that gives real guidance. How do you evaluate some non-sterile compounding? Well, they've spent the past 2-3 years perfecting that because they do a lot of non-sterile there, Jim. And they are going to be doing a webinar. They're taking the resources. They're sharing those resources to anyone in the world that wants them. We're excited about in our way, paying it forward, trying to raise everybody's capability.
Oh, that's great. Any additional STARS enhancements or offerings that you might be able to share with us?
Well, in the nearest horizon, it's really we're adding additional image capture because you can currently capture images with a mobile device or videos. We've added that into the batch compounding process so people can capture images of the components as they're documenting those batches. Now, this is not IV workflow. It may sound very close to it. It's not photo verification, but we're doing that. And then the next thing what we're doing is with the quality management system, we're expanding across the hospital into other departments because the net is they have the same requirements. They got to log things, monitor things, train staff, and be able to demonstrate it.
Great. Keith, if anyone's interested in more information on Pharmacy Stars or Compounding Quality Matters, how do they reach you?
Well, we'd love to hear from them. The simplest way is to go to pharmacystars.com. So it's maybe you guys can put it in the notes, but it's pharmacystars.com. I guess I don't have to spell that one out. That's the best way. And right there, you'll see a way to contact us or email or call us.
Well, Keith, as always, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and your enthusiasm and passion for sterile compounding quality are clearly evident. So thanks for all you do to support practice in this area and continuing to push for more and better ways to do things. And thanks again for being our guest on today's podcast.
Thank you. It was an honor.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening.